Guys are out working hard. We're just, I don't want to be the cliche master here, but, we've got a lot of work to do to just, try to instill the things that I want, in our guys overall relative to, attention to detail, doing their job, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I feel like it's the first week, um, of the regular season in terms of trying to build a consistency with the group, and they're getting it, but we're work in progress with a lot of changes in communication and drilling down on philosophy and things like that. So I mean, all I can tell you is the kids are working hard and they'll be ready to play against a really good team in North Carolina State. And, I think they're excited about the challenge ahead of them, not only this week, but the week after and the week after. I mean, we got a rough schedule ahead of us, but we're going to get better each week. I know that. And I like their focus on wanting to be coached and get better as a football team. So I know that's not, headline stories for you guys, but we're pretty boring right now. I mean, it's just boring stuff. We're working on stuff that you'd rather watch paint dry. And that's what we're doing right now, so. Sorry.
It wasn't the perfection that you seek on Thursday, is that what you're saying?
Well, in some areas, I was really pleased. A much more focused approach to what Thursday should be. They don't quite get the whole thing yet, but a real stride in the right direction for me in terms of doing their job and understanding how important Thursday is. I don't know, I think we lost a little bit about what Thursday was. There was a little bit of a box check there, and I think they clearly understand what Thursday is about. And I saw that from both units. There are other things they have to do better on Thursday, but there was progress today.
Brian, last year, Will Fuller at one point blurted out he was coming back for his senior year, and you kind of were taken aback when we asked you about it. This time, Mike McGlinchey on Wednesday kind of made the same kind of declaration. I wonder your reaction to what he had to say.
I saw it. Mike alerted me to it. I don't, unfortunately, get a chance to read all of your well-written articles. I probably would react differently. Will's a different cat than Mike McGlinchey. Mike's got his life planned out pretty carefully. So it doesn't surprise me. He's made that pretty clear to me, from day one, what his plans were in terms of how he wanted to proceed here. So I can just say he's been consistent in his approach to being here and what his plan has been. So I'm not surprised. Will, we just needed to slow down a little bit because his ascent was real quick, and so we just needed to protect him a little bit.
Along the same lines, when you see projections, you see Quentin Nelson and McGlinchey as at some point first-round guys, and then you kind of put the Harry Hiestand piece together, and people wonder why isn't the offensive line perfect at this point? What kind of goes into their evolution to get them to be a really strong unit, not just really strong individuals?
Well, I mean,
a lot of newness.
we got 7 new starters. Yeah. There's a lot of new pieces, and I think I said this the other day. We're averaging 40 points a game and 500 yards. So, I guess there's definitely inconsistencies, but I wouldn't throw it on the offensive line. I would throw it on perimeter blocking, decision making, coaching. there's a lot of factors there, and you know, the right side is evolving, so half or 2/3 there, are still coming together. So they're getting better. Those are two really good players there on the left side. I think everybody knows that, but one guy or two guys don't make an offensive line.
Speaking of that side, is McGovern have a good week of practice? Is he slated to start at this point?
Yeah, he is. I think Hunter will play too. I thought he did some good things. There's a big body in there. He's a pretty good pass protector. He's got all that experience out of tackle. And he's a 300-pounder, So kind of like him in certain situations. So I wouldn't be surprised if you continue to see him, moving in and out of the game.
What's the challenge rotating six offensive linemen? I mean, with Chris Watt as your sixth way back when, it was pretty easy because he was coming on and obviously had to get in there. But since then, it's been hard to get a sixth guy in regularly.
I don't know. I think it's kind of what, Eric alluded to. You do want those five guys to get a sense of working together and combinations and communication. You want to build that synergy as a group. He's been around long enough that it's not as critical in terms of maintaining that just the five guys. He's got a pretty good relationship with all those guys, a pretty strong working relationship over the last 3 years. So I don't think it's critical that we can, say that, it's disrupting tempo or flow in the game. Yeah, he practiced. He looked much better today. I'd say he's, probable for Saturday.
Anybody else? I mean, last week it was starting on Thursday.
Yeah, I know. I don't normally come in here if there's anything that happens on Thursday. I don't get briefed until after I meet with you guys. So, but we didn't have any injuries on the practice site that would cause me to think that anybody is in the kind of situation that he was after practice, or even Pete Mukwa. Nothing happened out there that would cause me to believe that anybody's going to be out for Saturday.
Brian, how did Mike Kelson's job change in the last couple of weeks? Some of the players described him as sort of like almost a translator between the old defense and the new defense, between Greg's ideas and Brian's ideas. I mean, how did his role maybe expand or change a little bit?
Well, Mike is very bright, and he's got a great understanding of the defense. And, we're really trying to meld, philosophically what I want, and he's able to pull that kind of out of the inventory. And, Greg and him are able to work together and kind of, bring that inventory into what I see as how I want the defense to be run. So Mike's knowledge base, I guess, more than anything else, has allowed it to work very well. So each one has a specific role, and Mike, provides a very important role.
So the two of them collaborate with play calling on game day? Or
Yes, yeah. Mike right now is doing quite a bit of the work until Greg gets, more comfortable with terminology and, all of those things.
And then another thing the player said is like the defense meets much more by position group now and less as the whole side. What
Correct.
pushed you in that direction?
It's just been my philosophy that, I believe that the best teaching can be done, in their groups. And I think I've got very good teachers, and I want them to be able to have their own room where they can really drill down on specific techniques. And I think that that's best done within their position groups.
Brian, are recruits more prepared to play immediately now than they were in the past, do you think?
Well, that's a good question. Physically, yes, they are. I would, there are days that I wonder whether they are prepared mentally to play. But physical ability, makes up for a lot of things. And then I think it's up to the individual coach and program to put those players that have the physical ability in a position to succeed early on. So I think there has to be a give and take, To put your best players on the field, you can't expect them to come in at a 500 level, if you will. They're not going to have that kind of capacity. But they do, I think, come in more prepared physically than ever before.
Why is that? Is it better coaching at the high school level now than maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago or something?
I think there are many factors. I think it starts with the understanding of how to take care of themselves, personal trainers, nutritionists at an early age, year-round training, whether that's good or bad, is certainly open for conversation. But I think that's 3 factors right there. There's many more. Specialization, and again, that's open for an argument as well, whether that's good or not. But specialization in the sport as well has lended itself to players with a a higher IQ.
Corollary to that, I'm sorry if I interrupted, but is it more difficult to keep players out their freshman year because they are what you recruited them as? They won't need the 5th year, and sometimes they don't even use the 4th year, whereas I know with offensive linemen, the 5th year is always valuable, but with skill position guys like receiver, running back, and quarterback, is that still something that you look at? Because you mentioned that you don't get that many 5th-year guys here at Notre Dame anymore.
Mark Carroll is our only 5th-year offensive
Part of
lineman.
that is because they're pretty good, and you develop
Yeah,
them.
if they're
and then
good players, they're on track to get their degrees in no more than 4 years, and in some cases sooner than that. Steve Elmer's a great case. He's got his degree, and he took his talents to Washington, D.C., in the private sector. So our guys have great options, and generally they're not hanging out for a 5th year. It's just, that's the reality of it. So if a guy can help us in his freshman year here at Notre Dame, we're just the nature of the way it is set up for academics. Our guys are taking their classes, they're taking summer school, and they're generally in a pretty strong position, after 3 years here at Notre Dame. So going into that 4th year, whether it's a true fourth year or three seasons of competition, they can kind of decide, do I stick around and be a backup here, or do I go play down a level and start? And we'd like to keep them all here. It gives you great depth, but as you can see by our roster, a lot of those guys decide to move to other places. We had a young man who would have given us great versatility last year, but he started at Oregon, so those things happen. And it's just the nature of it. So answering your question, we play those freshmen. Let's play them. If we think they can help us in their freshman year, we're going to play them.
Speaking of freshmen, where do you see Dalen Hayes kind of fitting into this new picture with the defense?
I think he's a guy that can play with his hand on the ground, but he certainly can drop. We're working with him, as a rush in the 3 down, and certainly in 4 down he can put his hand down. He's got a really good skill set, but he's rusty. I mean, we're getting the rust off him. Rerouting is new to him. Wrong arming, things that, and I get it, this is boring stuff to you, but we're working on, yeah, you love it, right? These are the things that are new things for him that we're spending time on him. He's going to be a really good football player, but he's a little bit behind, and we're going to get him caught up quickly. but he'll continue to play for us, and we'll get through some of those. But him and Trombetti are going to be sharing time. Those are the two guys really that'll be sharing most of the time.
And you mentioned Troy Pride caught your eye
Yeah.
in scout team stuff. I know that not everybody that catches your eye in scout team, you want to activate them the next week. Is there some other guys, offense and defense, that may not play this year where you say, wow, in the future, I think?
Liam Eichenberg.
Okay.
He's
what's he doing?
He's a stud. Yeah, we're just not going to play him this year. Yeah, he's a pretty special player.
Future left tackle?
Whatever he tells me. Yeah, I just say yes and no and thank you for being here. He's a pretty good player.
Brian, I'm just curious, when you fire a coordinator or an assistant coach in general mid-season, what is the process like in terms of searching for a replacement? Is that something where you compile a list during the year? Do you put it on the back burner until December?
I never go into the season with the fire list. It's, look, I think you try to make the best decisions, for your program and provide leadership in those tough times, and then you have to fill the voids based upon, what you think is the most important, at the time, whether it's somebody that's on the staff or maybe you have to fill in that role. But before you make that decision, you better have some thoughts in mind. And it's not like I'm experienced at it. I'm not. I'm experienced at, leading. And I know as a leader, you sometimes have to make tough decisions. And this was a very difficult decision, but you better have a plan in place. And I thought I had a plan in place that would be effective for us to move on and get better.
And in terms of moving forward, though, like looking forward to next year, I know current staff is kind of on trial, so to speak, Greg Hudson. But is this something for next year that you look at now? Or is it something you don't think about really until the end of the year?
Yeah, I'm not out on the phone, taking, the temperature of, other defensive coordinators and whether they want to be the defensive coordinator here. I'm not doing that right now, no. Cool. Good? All right.